Hello YouTube land. Thought I'd show you today how I'm going to start making a cool little couchy bench thing out of this old stock tank I commandeered from a local farm. I'm going to cut the front of this just because you can kind of see the writing on here. I thought that looked kind of cool on the back, so I'm going to leave that exposed. And I'm going to use some old deck boards that I have when we redid our deck. Pressure wash those to clean those up. Some of the tools that I'm going to use today for this first part: masking tape, safety goggles, and earplugs, because the saw I'm going to use is going to be loud. Obviously, tape measure, pencil, square, and then the saw that I have this this custom, or I shouldn't say custom, but this metal cutting saw I bought at the local store. I think it was like $7 or $8. But make sure that you get a metal cutting saw for sheet metal. And then what I had done here is I had just taped off already where I want to cut this down. This has some cool lettering on it too, but the curve on the back of this one I thought was kind of neat, or so I want to utilize this curve over here to kind of put a curve in the backrest of it. And then I'm going to try to utilize some storage underneath for maybe some bird seed or cushions or something when it's all said and done. Have the seat lift up. But as you can see, I've kind of already taped off where I want to cut. And I just used some green masking tape after it was dry. I happen to use a 10-inch mark here, and I'm going to go between these two pieces of tape as my line. I used the 10-inch mark because I measured some other chairs on my patio set, and that seemed to be where the chair height was for cushions. Actually, it was 12 inches. I'm sorry, 12 inches, but I cut 1.5 inches off because I want the front of it to kind of angle out like an Adirondack chair when it's all said and done. So we're going to get on to phase 2 here. It's going to be loud, so I'm going to put on my safety goggles and put in my earplugs. And we'll see where we're at after that. Oh, I should tell you how I measured this. Was pretty easily. I measured it to be about 50 inches wide. And I basically just used a square up against here to make sure that it was going straight down at a 90-degree. I just went like this against the top rail, close enough, Same thing on the bottom to measure up from that. I basically just stuck it down here along the bottom rail of this stock tank and went up 10 inches, marked it, and then taped it. Alright, so just to give you an idea where we're at with that, that's how we did that. And then, like I said, I'm going to cut now. I don't know if you saw, but I did a plunge cut here because I couldn't come in. So I took the saw, pulled the guard back, and kind of eased my way in with that metal cutting, blade. So it works. It doesn't go slow. It doesn't cut like butter. Got to take your time and be careful when you're done, because these are not only hot but they're sharp when you're done. What that looks like, how it's going to be cut in. So that's kind of cool. We're on to phase 2, where I'm going to put some boards in here. I'm not quite sure I'm going to do that. I am not a carpenter by any means, but I'll probably take a grinder or a file or something and get rid of these sharp edges, just in case someone ever gets their fingers in there. I hate to see someone get hurt. Might keep this piece of metal for something else, some other project I have in the future, who knows. So phase 1 complete. Alright, so phase 2 here. Sorry for the mess, but I've cut the hole as you guys saw last time we talked. I put in somewhat rudimentary frame underneath here with 2x4s and some basically some self brackets, a little bit of reinforcement there. And what I'm doing is cut all these pieces, fit across here. The ones in the corners or the edges, I had to put a little bit of a corner slice on it, as you can see, to accentuate the curve. I've stained the pieces, cut some backer boards, and what I did on the backer boards is I cut them with a little bit of an angle, so it does kind of like an Adirondack kind of roundy thing. I decided against the storage underneath because I thought that it would be harder to do, quite frankly. So I don't have everything laid out, but I want to kind of show you what I'm doing as the next phase here. This is basically how the bench is going to look across. I'm going to have some backer boards up the top. This particular tub was bent in the back, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to accentuate that and incorporate that into the bench. So on the sides here, I am basically just going to screw some upright boards that I have to fit in yet. One I have to rip down so that I can fit it in there. But behind that, I've just got an old railing baluster that I cut to fit in the top here. This is going to go back here to reinforce it like that, and I'm going to put on top of these. Hopefully you can understand how that's going to go with some sheet metal screws on the outside of the tub there. When that's all said and done, if you noticed before I did all this, this is the top that I'm going to put in like a little coffee table deal, but I'm going to cut it to fit on the inside of that curve. I thought it'd be cool to kind of keep this outside rusty edge in there to kind of make it look a little bit more rustic. So in order to do that, I put a little pencil mark on the inside, as you can see right above where that is, which is the thickness of this board. So it can fit right underneath there, as you can see. And then I'm going to put this bad boy up here, and I'm going to trace it underneath all the way around. And I'm going to, with a pencil, going to stain that to match the edges. I'm going to put it in place, and I guess that'll be the next phase that we talk. But that's where we're at. The toughest part of that was trying to figure out how I was going to do this side here. I was going to do them horizontal this way, but I didn't think it would match up too well. Plus I had the back bench angled down a little bit, so there'd be a gap. So I decided to go vertical. And then I don't have all the other pieces in place, but you kind of get the idea. Got the same thing kind of happening over on the other side. I haven't gotten to that yet, but all right. So it's moving along. All right, so bracing is in. These are just some balusters off an old deck. Just screwed in with this sheet metal screw there. I really didn't measure anything. I just kind of put this board over the top and made some pencil lines on the inside to make sure I put it in the right spot. Cut my board with a little end table jobby, and it's a little under gap here, but it's still, you know, it's not going to be perfect, and that kind of adds to the charm, I think. So yeah, so I'm going to put some uprights here with those, and see you in a bit. Okay, a little backer thing is in. I'm going to put one on the bottom, but I cut them into 4 pieces to kind of go with the curve here. Obviously if you have one that's not curved, you don't have to go with the curve, but I had to cut these into 4 pieces in order to make them work. Screwed them in the back with some sheet metal screws. These are 1-inch 8x1-inch sheet metal screws, and then I don't know, we're on to our next adventure here. Alright, well, sorry if you can't really see it very well, but I put this the baluster in there in the back. I'm sure it's really dark, so I can't, but I screwed it in 3 points. Curved a little bit on this side to accommodate for the curve again of the whole tub. I'm going to secure the middle one first, and then I'm going to work middle out so that they're all even. And we're getting to the end of this project here. I'd have to say that pretty much about wraps it up, gang. A couple of trim pieces I had to cut into here because I didn't cut this piece right, but for the most part, you get the idea. Got to run some trim up the side there so, to cover the rough edge, but hopefully you can figure that out if you can figure out the rest of this. So enjoy. Hope you can make one. Send some comments. See you. Bye.